happy hour time if you're doing it right. I want to tell you a little bit about Hippard Open, the intra-team mock trial competition that we hold every fall. Basically, you will be going up against other members or other classmates. You'll be in teams of two, and you will have some preliminary rounds, go into semifinals, and hopefully finals. So we have put together a little presentation that is just going to tell you the basics of what a mock trial looks like. So this mirrors what an actual trial would look like in real life, from opening statements and housekeeping all the way through closing arguments. So when you have a mock trial, the first thing that you start with are housekeeping and motion and limine items, which we'll get into a little more in a moment. You follow through to opening statements, and then the state is going to present their case by presenting two witnesses, which the defense will have a chance to cross-examine. The defense will present their case, and then you'll have closing arguments. Housekeeping is just one of those things where you kind of talk about the logistics of what will happen in the courtroom. This year will look a little bit different because the competition is going to be via Zoom. So some of those housekeeping items are going to be things such as, may I share my screen when I would like to present evidence? And would you prefer that we remain seated because we're on Zoom? And, some of those things that we're learning are now part of our daily lives. And along with your housekeeping, you will have what's called a motion in limine. You can have, anywhere from 1 to like 3 usually is pretty normal. And these are items that you are asking for the judge to keep out of the opening of your opposing counsel. And that will require you to approach the judge at any point during the trial if opposing counsel wants to talk about it. These are things that are usually a fact that could be harmful to your client or their reputation or character on the stand. So, for example, if your client has a history of illegal drug use or is buying, oxycodone from the neighbor, that might be something that you would argue to the judge is not relevant to your case and would prejudice the jury, and ask to have it left out of the openings and approached on trial. So that's about 5 minutes per side. And then you're going to go into opening statements. So one member of state's team or the prosecution will go, and one member of defense will go. And when you're giving an opening statement, you obviously always want to be persuasive and tell the story with the facts that are most favorable to you, but you can't argue during opening. You can't be argumentative during opening arguments, even though it's called an argument. So essentially, you could say things like, the evidence will show this. We anticipate that the witness will tell you this. We believe when this is all over, this is the conclusion you should come to, but you can't jump to those conclusions. So you may say the evidence will show that our client was choked that night, but if that's a fact in dispute, you wouldn't be able to say he choked our client that night. Okay, moving right along to the state's case in chief. So the state will go first. They'll have two witnesses. They'll put on their first witness, do the direct examination, followed by a cross-examination by defense counsel, and then there's always an optional redirect. And all of this information is going to be laid out more thoroughly in the information packet that you will have access to. This is just kind of a quick blurb of what it looks like. So things to remember when you're directing a witness, they need to be open-ended questions that require a yes or no answer, and you cannot lead somebody. Whereas when you're cross-examining somebody, you always want to lead them. So the distinction would be, if you're directing them, you would say, did you observe the light that night? What color was that light? And when you're cross-examining them, you would say, you saw the light that night, right? And the light was red. You're just leading them to the answer that you want them to say, essentially. Halftime motions, some teams do them, some teams do not, but I say always throw it out there because it is a way to score some points with the judge. This is exclusively for the defense. The defense can call for a motion outside the presence of the jury, and you basically argue that the state has not met their burden to prove their case. And since the defense is never required to put on a case, then you say this case should be thrown out, essentially a directed verdict, because the state hasn't met their burden of proving these elements or whatever it is you're arguing. That'll never be granted because you don't want a trial to just stop in the middle in a mock trial tournament, but it will potentially score you some points with the judge. So it's always great to throw in. Then you go into the defense's case in chief, and it's just like the state's case in chief, where you'll have two witnesses, you'll direct them, they'll cross, and you'll have the opportunity to do a brief redirect. You then go to closing arguments. So whoever did not give the opening will give the closing. And the closing is the time that you get to be argumentative. This is when you tell the story, you talk about only the things that came in during trial, but this is when you can say, he choked her, she was fighting for her life, whatever the facts may be, you're able to argue as long as you keep it to what was actually presented in the trial. As I mentioned, we have, I think, 3 preliminary rounds, and we thought 3 was a good number so that everybody will have the opportunity to gain some experience through this, make some contacts with the judges. The judges are usually local attorneys, so it's great to reach out to them, say, hey, can I have a coffee with you sometime? I did that to 2 out of 3 of the judges from my semifinals round, my 1L year. And, one of them led to a job opportunity. So this is definitely a great way to network and get out there and meet people. And then, of course, there's, prizes. You do get a cash prize for the first and second place team. Everybody loves some money. The rounds are limited to 55 minutes per side. And then just the logistics of you each have to direct and one witness and cross one witness. And maybe the best part is class credit. You can get 1 class credit for competing in the competition. And in order to do that, you just have to make sure that you show up for your preliminary rounds. And then you'll have to email 3 of the items below to me by November 11th, which is that Wednesday after the competition ends, or after the competition. And those don't have to be perfect. You just have to show that you put in a good faith effort and get those over to me. And then you'll be able to petition for that credit, which you can use retroactively in another semester. Finally, if you have any questions at any point, and the info packet doesn't answer them, please feel free to reach out to me. I definitely, want to help in any way that I can and answer any questions that you may have. Let's see, we will open this evening, right, Chelsea, for signups. Signups will start tonight and they will go for the next week. And either next Wednesday or Thursday at the latest, the practice problem will be distributed. This year, it will be a criminal case. Woohoo, those are always more fun, I think. And you'll have that next Wednesday or Thursday. And then the rounds will start Friday the 6th. For the preliminary rounds, you'll have 2 on Friday and then 1 on Saturday. And then we'll go from there from quarter to semi and finals. In order to sign up, you just go to our website, and on the website, we will have additional things such as signups. If you're looking for a partner, we'll have a spreadsheet on there so you can enter your information and help find yourself a partner, and also for witnesses, because you're responsible for getting the 2 witnesses for yourself. They can be any students, any other students, or they can be friends, family member, anybody that, loves to play a little dramatic role. You are welcome to have them join you in the competition. So that's all for the presentation. I'll see if Chelsea has anything to add, and then we will open up to everyone for questions.
Okay, so just a little something I'm gonna add. So like Amanda said, our registration goes live tonight at 6 p.m. on our website. That's at theadvocates@uhlc.org, or you can just Google advocates at UHLC and we will pop up. There will be a Google form and you will register for both you and your teammate. And then there will also be a PayPal link for members of the advocates. It's $10 per member, and then it's $50 per person if you're not a member. So I recommend, if you're not already a member, maybe signing up and getting that sweet discount. And if you're not a member right now and you're like, oh gosh, it's too late to be a member because it's right before I'm registering. So like, that's not a thing. It is. You can just go to join. It says on our website, you can become a member moments before registering for the competition if you would like. But you'd have to join before registering to take advantage of that discount. So just plugging that. And as Amanda also said, just to reiterate, we had a lot of success with our Tom Newhouse mediation and using the partner sign up where people who were having trouble finding partners would put their name and information. And we probably had like 6 teams form just from that. So we're very hopeful that that will be something that will be really useful for everyone. And we'll also be distributing that on the Facebooks as well. And furthermore, one more thing that we're going to promote anyway, but you guys get a sneak peek, is that on Tuesday of next week, so that's Tuesday, October 27th at 5 p.m., aka the day before registration closes, Judge Weems, who is an actual judge, will be having a little presentation on what Zoom looks like. What mock trial looks like over Zoom. She's had quite a bit of experience at this point as to kind of how that looks, what are some little things to pay attention to, tips and tricks, best practices. That will be recorded and it will be put on our website. But if there are any specific questions or things that you're concerned about, just because this is a new format, that's would be a really great thing to attend, or again, to watch the recording later, as that would be helpful. Also, we have an example of what a mock trial round looks like if you go to the UHLC Blakely YouTube page. And I think we also have a link to it on our website, if I'm not mistaken. There was an intra-team mock trial tournament that happened earlier this semester, which was recorded and live streamed on YouTube. And it's like the full round. So if you're like, I don't know what to do, like, I don't even know how this looks, where to start, that's a great example of what a mock trial round looks like. So if you're looking for examples, if you feel like you don't know where to start, there are definitely resources out there. And of course, Amanda or myself, we're really happy to answer any questions as well, because this is a great opportunity. You're going to get to do a mock trial round start to finish. And I'm telling you, from the first prelim round to the third one, you're going to see a huge improvement in yourself. You will, because that's how you get better, is you get used to all the different pieces of it and you practice, and that puts you way ahead of things. Even if you're not interested in litigation, you're probably going to take evidence at some point, and just seeing all these things in practice, it's really beneficial to you. And although, I'm sure we're all sick of Zoom land, it's a skill now, because I think that this is going to be something to see for the future. So this is a double whammy opportunity for you to be able to sharpen those litigation skills, and for also get some experience as to what that looks like over Zoom and how to overcome some of those virtual obstacles. So highly recommended. And okay, I think at this point I've covered all of the bases. So Amanda and I will happily answer any of your questions.
One thing that I did fail to mention logistically is you will need to play both sides of this case with your partner. So you will be state one round and defense one round, and you won't know until that's released, maybe like the night before or so, how that's going to be. So in your preliminary rounds, you'll play each side one time, but you don't know what that third will be necessarily right away. And then as the rounds go on, obviously you don't know how that's going to look. And then once you get to the final round, there's a coin toss and you get to, the winner gets to decide which side they'd like to advocate for. So it does give you a chance to really look at a case the whole way through and know how to approach it from both sides, which just makes you a stronger advocate.
Can I ask two things?
Mm-hmm.
So the first one is there any requirement in order to compete? Like, do you have to, does this have to be your first mock trial competition or something like that? Anybody can compete?
This is open, so everybody is accepted. There'll be one in the spring that's novice, and you cannot have taken evidence, I think it is at that point. But for open, everybody's welcome.
Gotcha. And my second question is there a way to look at the case without registering, or is it you have to register and then you're given the case?
We would give that out after you register, just because
Gotcha.
it would be an unfair advantage if you got it early and then you decided to sign up, It's a fun criminal case though. So yeah.
I have a question. If you compete in this one, does it preclude you from doing the novice one if you were otherwise eligible for novice?
No.
Nope. The only things that would disqualify you from being able to do novice is if you've taken evidence, if you've taken trial advocacy, or if you've been on a competing competition team for over a year. So a lot of times that's going to be mostly 1Ls who are eligible for novice. But yeah, if having competed in Hippard Open is not one of those things that would knock you out for being able to compete. So yeah, lots. In fact, every year we have 1Ls who do both.
Yes. Anything else anyone can think of?
I'm sure you already covered this, but I was late. Can you go over the writing requirement real quick?
There's no writing requirement except for what you'll have to send to me if you would like to get class credit.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, for class credit. So you will send either a direct, a cross, an opening, a closing, or your motion in limine. You'll send 3 out of 5 of those to me. And they definitely don't have to be perfect. If you write a direct or a cross exam, you don't have to have the answers written out to them. If, just to show that you made a good faith effort, we need 3 of those 5 things.
And they're due on November 11th. So they're not due until after the competition. So
Right.
At that point, hopefully you have at least 3 of those 5 things written out.
There's nothing due before the competition this time?
Correct.
Oh, that's nice.
No, for mock trial, you don't have like writing elements. It's not like moot court where you have to write a brief or anything like that. Mock trial does not have the writing, which is why I do it.
Well, I mean, hey, except for South Texas mock trial challenge last year, whenever we did have to write a brief.
But that's a national competition. That's true. And my teammates carried me. But yeah, you don't do that. You can't actually present a brief or anything to the judge beforehand.
Where would we find the sheet if we wanted to find a partner, or if we wanted to sign up to be a witness or something?
So that sheet, I believe we're going to be putting it on our website. We're definitely going to be putting it on Facebook as well. And Joe, who is our vice chair of PR, tomorrow, whenever he's like, registration's open, everybody, here are a bunch of links for things. That link will also be there as well. And hopefully I will have linked it live correctly so that everyone can be in there in real time. It worked out last time.
How much is the cash prize for first and second place?
Okay, so I can kind of answer this one a little bit better. So all of our advocates competition, so first of all, the answer is there's no hard answer right now. The minimum it will be is $100 for each first place team member, and then $50 for each second place team member, and then an additional $50 for whoever wins best speaker. Last year we got a sponsor, and that's also things that we are looking at getting for this year as well. And so our prizes ended up being doubled. And so Amanda and I are like this because we received some of that money last year. And so the winners got $200 each. The second place team got $100 each, and then the best speaker got $100.
Chelsea was the best speaker. Don't let her glide over that.
I did get $300. It was nice. But that initial amount that I said is the minimum. So it'll at least be that.
And a lovely plaque with your name on it. I mean, everybody needs a good plaque in their room.
I will say that's like half the fun of having one is that I have a plaque that says champion on it. And then also in the sub basement, which if you're a 1L, you may not know anything about the sub basement, but in the sub basement outside of our office, we have a nice trophy case. Oh yeah, there's Amanda's plaque. Down in the sub basement outside the advocate's office, there's a trophy case, and it's got the names of all the winners of certain competitions dating back to like the 90s at least. And so it's really cool to kind of go and look. I enjoy that kind of thing, going and looking and saying like, oh, well, who won this year? And it'll be maybe somebody who I know. Like I think our former mock trial coach from last year, her name is on a couple of the things as well. So it's kind of a way to kind of cement your legacy.
True story. And I think all female teams have won it for the last 2 years or 3 years, right?
For Hippard Open, we won last year. We were all female team. The year before that was Cassie and AJ. I don't know about the year before we came around.
So guys, you got some competition.
What would you say the time commitment for this one is versus some of the other competitions?
So I'll kind of answer that a little bit because I've had more of a hand in the other competitions. So this one is very different. I think for the moot court one, there's just like a lot of kind of reading cases and kind of getting some legal arguments in order, and preparing to speak in front of the judges and kind of having to prepare yourself for any question that they may ask and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of preparation on that kind of like research side of things, and kind of drafting, getting those arguments ready to go. For the mediation one, that one actually looked like it was a lot of fun, but you did kind of get multiple fact patterns, and sometimes you got fact patterns without much time to prepare them ahead of time. For example, Amanda, the final round where you had 30 whole minutes with your fact pattern. For mock
It was
trial,
26 minutes. That was it was 4 minutes late. We only had 26 minutes.
well, so the good news is that for mock trial, there's not going to be any of that. Whenever we send out the fact pattern, it's probably going to be Thursday morning. Once we send that fact pattern out, that's your fact pattern. You don't have to go do outside research. You don't have to read any other cases. That's going to be your set of facts. Okay. And it's just going to be very different because you are going to be reading through that fact pattern. And you're going to have to, again, like Amanda said, you're going to have to try both sides. So you're going to kind of have to, work with your partner and kind of think, okay, well, what do we want to do about this side? What do we want to do about this side? What do we think? And you kind of work through different things. So, it really depends. It really depends on everything. And if you have like witnesses who are like with it, because the witnesses, they're going to be on the stand, you will be directing them, which should be fairly easy, but you got to let them know that someone else is going to come up and cross them, and they're probably going to be a little bit mean. So you are going to want to make sure that they're prepared as well, and that they're willing to give you what you need without you know, hurting you by saying something that they don't necessarily mean to say on cross. I think that a good kind of thing to consider as well is that whatever you want to be in your closing, whatever your theory of the case is, whatever the story is that your side needs to sell, you need to make sure that that evidence that you need is what comes up during the actual case. Like, so whenever the witness is on the stand and you are asking them questions and they are answering you, those answers are in evidence. Those things are in evidence. So you need to make sure. So you may get a fact pattern and it has all the information under the sun. Well, you don't need every single piece of information. You need the piece of information that you need to tell the story you need to tell. So, you know, so those are all, it's very different than any other competition, I think. And obviously I'm a mock trial girl because I'm here with my tiny mic, like just stealing Amanda's, her airtime because I'm like, yes, this is the best competition. And it's just different. And it's going to be a lot of work, like the other competitions are a lot of work. But again, I think the return on that investment is a really good one. It's a really valuable one.
I will say that mock trial, oh, sorry, my dog, of course. I will say that mock trial definitely prepared me for, sorry guys, prepared me for real life, because my second day on the job after my 1L year, we went to trial with this solo attorney I worked for. And I was asked to formulate an argument and talk to the judge and do all of these different things. And it was terrifying. And yet, had I not done a mock trial competition and seen all of those judges and had to think on my feet and argue evidence, I think I would have definitely been more terrified and would not have known what to do. And I was actually able to, you know, add some value to what we were doing in the courtroom. So I definitely think that you will reap the benefits of doing this competition. Even if you just do 3 rounds, you'll be amazed at the growth that you see.
Did you do the open or the novice your 1L year?
My 1L year, I did the novice. Yes. And then we did open last year.
So our 1L year, open was the first competition. And also, I mean, not to rank on myself, but I feel like we've done better since last year at promoting the competitions so that people know about them ahead of time, because I didn't know that Hippard Open even existed until I guess like the end of 1L year. And I was like, oh, there's a mock trial competition then, like hot dog. So in our defense, maybe we would have done it had we known about it, but it kind of passed us by with you know, only the faintest whisper. And also the hair flip was because I was the vice chair of PR last year, so.
Okay. Well, if nobody has anything else, we will let you guys get going, and you can find the information on the website. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either of us at any point. Read through the info packet if you'd like. And we would love to help you in any way you can, or we can, and tell your friends. Thank you all.